Alrighty, so in order to make these classes as freely accessible as possible to our participants, we will be using a verbal warning and assumption of risk at the beginning of the class. Participation in this online class is voluntary. Physical injury that may result from your physical activity programs may result in injury, and by participating, you assume the risk of injury that may result from your participation. We strongly recommend that you participate from a space that is suitable for this activity. For example, make sure that you have moved nearby furniture and other potential hazards. If you are participating in a yoga class or class that involves laying on the ground, we recommend using a mat, or if you don't have one, a carpeted area. Participants are encouraged to stop if they experience pain or injury and should seek appropriate medical advice or care as needed. William & Mary Health and Wellness strongly recommends that each participant have an annual physical examination and follow the advice of your healthcare provider before participating. And I'm just gonna mute everyone, just realized I forgot to do that. And we can get started. So I'll throw the Spotify link in the chat one more last time if you didn't see it before. But we can go ahead and get started. If you want to meet me at your mat, I like to play the playlist on my phone as well, so I can kind of follow along with you guys, at least know what you're listening to if I'm not listening to it myself. So welcome to Barre. If you've never done Barre before, Barre is a mixture of traditional strength training, yoga, and Pilates. We're gonna work small muscle movements to target your glutes, your quads, your core, and it's just gonna be really small isolated movements to burn out those muscles. This being said, I can't see you guys, but if at any point you need to take a break, if you just want to lay on the mat the whole class, this is your workout, so do whatever you need. Feel free. We're going to implement some water breaks, get some toweling off time. So just know that whatever I say is just merely a suggestion. This is your workout this morning. So if you want to meet me, we're going to start with our feet shoulder width apart. Our hips are going to be stacked over our knees and our ankles. We're going to start by going into a simple squat, sending our hips back, keeping our back nice and flat, and straightening back up. As we go into this squat, we're pushing the ground beneath us. Our weight is in our heels. We could wiggle our toes. You might see my toes wiggling at the bottom of the video. And you can reach your hands on up over your head, elongating your spine, making that neck nice and long. Warming up these legs at the beginning of our class this morning, making sure that we're breathing throughout this whole movement. Breathing in as we go down and out as we extend back up. Making sure that we don't let those knees track on over those toes. We're going to add into this movement. So as we come straighten back on up, we're going to choose our favorite leg. This morning, it's going to be my right leg. I think looks like my left, but you're going to lean into that side just a little bit. Don't tilt your hips. Sending our left leg straight up to the side and coming back down into our squat. So extending that leg to the side and back into our squat. As we extend it to the side, you notice how my hips are not tilting over like this. We're keeping it nice and stable, that nice long line from our heels to our head. Feeling this in that side glute here. We're going to switch it up, alternating between our left side and our right side. Warming up these glutes and these quads to start off our class this morning. Making sure that we're not sacrificing any form. So you guys can keep going. I'm just going to show some form guidance. As we go down into our squat, you notice how my back is flat from my shoulders to my hips, keeping up that form as we go throughout this movement. And continuing for our last 4. Last 2, last 1. We're going to start by going to our left side, extending that leg on up, and then we're going to sink into our side lunge before we come back up and down. So push on up, extend that leg, go into your side lunge, leg extension, back into our squat. Extend, side lunge, extend, squat. Extend, side lunge, extend, squat. Extend, side lunge, extend, squat, extend. You guys got the pattern. And you can figure out what best way to move your arms. Doing this for our last 4. Already feeling those legs heat up a little bit, maybe getting a little warm at the start of this class, making sure that we're pressing our weight into those heels. And our last 2, I lost count, sorry guys. Last one. And shaking it on out. We're gonna switch sides. So go ahead, move on over to the other side of your mat. If it's a little disproportionate, we're gonna switch sides, going on over to our right side, starting in our same squat, extend, just isolating your right leg at this moment. Keeping that foot flexed, your weight in those heels. You might feel it working that left glute. This is very applicable maybe to your normal days right now. I know that with virtual classes, I'm sitting a lot. This is a great movement, practicing standing up and down. So switching it up, we're going into our side lunge, sending that leg long, our weight going back into that heel and back up. Keeping that foot flexed on your right side, pushing back into those heels, sending those hips back in our side lunge and in our squat. Making sure that our toes are pointed forward throughout this whole movement. And our last 2. Our last one, finishing it off with one last side lunge and shaking it out. Feel free to grab some water. You guys killed it throughout the warm-up. Maybe you're listening to Mirrors by Justin Timberlake right now. It's fun to imagine for me. So we're gonna switch it up out of our shoulder width stance, and we're gonna be going into our second position, doing a little bit of arm work this morning. But feel free to take a rest, grab that water. Whenever you're ready, you're gonna meet me back on our mat. If you've been to barre before, maybe are familiar with some ballet terminology. First position is when our heels are glued together, our toes are pointed wide, our hips are slightly tucked under. And when we move into second position, our feet are gonna be a little wider than shoulder width distance. Our toes are gonna be pointed wide, and we're not gonna let our knees cave in towards the center of our mat. We wanna push them wide, feeling it in those glutes as we sink down. In our second position, unlike our squat where we send our hips back, in our second position, our shoulders are gonna be we're gonna have a nice long line from our shoulders to our hips throughout the whole movement. So as we go down, you can see the straight line as my hips are a little bit tucked under and coming back up. Going into just our normal second position squat. To start off this progression, keeping those hips tucked under, those shoulders up, back, and down. Have that good posture this morning. If maybe you have something on your shirt, you should be able to see it clearly in your camera this morning, if you have your video on. And beginning to feel it all throughout those glutes. Maybe starting to feel it a little bit in those inner thighs here. Just getting used to this movement before we start to target those arms. Doing this for our last 4, last 3, last 2. On this last one, you're gonna meet me at the base, maybe even just like halfway up. So you're at that half midway point. We're gonna let our arms extend long, our palms face down, reaching from one side, coming back towards the middle, reaching towards the other side. You can kind of see how my core is the only thing that's really moving here. I'm not letting my hips go side to side, but we're just keeping that upper body moving. Reaching out to those imaginary partners, maybe giving them a high five this morning. Giving yourself a high five. You made it through a whole semester worth of classes, whether that be an administrator or a student. Doing this for our last 4, last 3, last 2, and last 1. You can extend those legs back on up, maybe bend them a little bit, shake side to side, loosen it on up. We're gonna be working our arms pretty hard in this next portion. We're gonna be doing some arm circles, and we're gonna do progression, doing counterclockwise circles first, circles forward, and then circles backward. I'm just gonna demonstrate first so you guys all know. Then we'll be doing pulses down, flipping those palms up, pulses up, and then we're gonna finish it off doing this. So we'll do 4 counts of each in 4 sets. So we got this, we're gonna kill it. I know you guys, arms are a little bit hard, especially without any weights, but this is a great way to work those biceps, those triceps, everything, those shoulders. So we got this, we got 4 sets of each. We got their circles forward, circles back, bouncing down, pulsing up, and then we'll finish it off. So if you would like to join me, you can start in your halfway down, or as we go throughout this motion, you can bend up and down. So whatever you'd like to do, I'll be bending up and down. So we can start off with our arms straight out, our shoulders up, back, and down. Don't let those shoulders creep up towards your ears. We're going 1, 2, 3, 4, and backwards, 2, 3, 4, up, down, 2, 3, 4, and pulsing up, 2, 3, 4. And then we're gonna start with these, 2, 3, 4, and then back to our circles, 2, 3, 4, backwards, 2, 3, 4, up, down, 2, 3, 4, up, 2, 3, 4, and finishing it off. Going back to our circles, 2, 3, 4, and backwards, 2, 3, 4, pulse down, 2, 3, 4, pulse up, 2, 3, 4. These 2, 3, 4 circles, 2, 3, 4, backwards, 2, 3, 4, and down, 2, 3, 4, up, 2, 3, 4, going through our field goals. We have one last set here. Circles, 2, 3, 4, and backwards, 2, 3, 4, pulse down, 2, 3, 4, pulse up, 2, 3, 4, and shoulders, 2, 3, 4. So that killed some of our arms. Maybe you're feeling it a little bit this morning. You can grab that arm stretch, sending our right arm across our chest, grabbing above or below that elbow joint to start off this morning. So that was just our little warm up with arms. We'll do one more arm exercises to burn them out here together. Switching sides, letting your left arm come across your chest, grabbing above or below that elbow joint. And then sending those arms back behind your head, grabbing above or below that elbow joint. Stretching that tricep here. Switching sides, grabbing that left arm. I know we breezed through that part pretty quick, but we'll go back down into one last second position together. One last burnout of our arms and legs portion. And burn out those arms too. Releasing that arm. To let you guys all know, I didn't say this at the beginning of class, but typically at the rec, I have a format to my classes, and I like to carry that over virtually just to keep some consistency. So as you guys know, we did our warm up. We're into our arms and legs portion currently. And then we'll be moving into our core section, going into our bar section with our chairs, and then finishing it off with our floor section. So think like glute bridges, that sort of thing, and then into our cool down. So you guys, we're finishing up our arms and legs section now before we head into our core. So last exercise of our arms and legs section, you guys might be in your second position stance. You can bend it out, maybe shake it out, loosen up those joints. We're gonna go down into our second position, our back flat, coming back up, just our same full range. Doing this for our last 4, last 3, last 2. We're only gonna go halfway in this next portion. So coming halfway down and halfway up, halfway down and halfway up. You guys can challenge yourself by lifting your toes up off the ground as you go into this. It might be a little bit of a balance challenge for you, but you're gonna begin to activate those quads, that glute, those inner thighs, just a little bit more. Just going halfway down, halfway up. For our last 4, last 3, last 2, last 1. We're gonna be going halfway down, all the way down, halfway down, all the way down. And check your form on this one. Keeping our hips tucked under, our back flat, our shoulders up, back, and down. You should feel your core engaged in this movement. It's a little bit of a challenge if you're up on those heels. Doing this for our last 4, last 3, last 2. We're gonna have one challenge here. We're holding it here at the base of our position here together, starting to feel that shake. We're gonna let our arms come wide. I told you we're burning it out, making those baby circles here together, burning out those biceps, holding it here for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1, and we're pulsing down for 4, 3. This is our last one, I promise. Last 2, and last one. Straightening it on out, shaking out those legs, maybe grabbing a quad stretch, grabbing that right ankle, pulling that ankle towards your glute, feeling that stretch all throughout that quad here. Shaking it out, switching sides, grabbing your left foot, pulling it towards your glute here. Keeping that slight bend in your right knee. You guys killed the warm up, killed the arms and leg section. We're gonna be moving into our core portion now. I always like to say, if you guys have any shoulder issues, possibly any lower back issues, just be very careful in this portion. I always like to suggest modification. So we will be going into a plank position, which I know does put some stress on those shoulders and wrists. So if that is your case, then you can flip onto your back, doing more crunches. You can go into like a Pilates 100. So your feet in the air, your feet in the air, and just pulsing here, feeling your core engaged. So to make this workout whatever you need it to be this morning, and don't stress any of those joints if they're particularly bothersome to you. But we're gonna start going into our plank position. So if you're standing up, we can start at the base of our mat, taking a deep breath in here together, reaching those arms towards the sky. As we exhale, sending that chest forward, letting those hands trickle down to the mat. Slowly walking your hands out of your forward fold into your plank position here. We're in our high plank. We're keeping our back flat. You might be able to see it in the camera. My hips are slightly tucked under, engaging that core, holding it here together. We're gonna start by sending our feet, both of our feet wide, maybe wider than our mat here, and lowering our knees down. As we pull our knees up back into our high plank, we jump those feet back together and lower those knees down. So we're gonna go into 4 sets of this. You can just stay with your knees down as I explain this. What we're gonna do is we're gonna be going, bouncing out, wide, lowering those knees, coming back up, bringing those legs back together, lowering down. And we'll be doing 4 sets of those of 4. So bear with me, we got it through. Four sets in sight, we're gonna kill it. So go ahead, we're gonna push back into our normal plank, our feet shoulder width apart, sending those feet wide, lowering those knees down, bringing those knees back up off the ground, coming together. That's 1. Lowering those knees down, coming back up, shoulder width distance, sending those feet long, lowering down, coming back on up, bringing together and down. That's 2. Coming back up, going wide, lowering down, back up, together, lower down. That's 3. We got 1 more. Coming back up, going wide, lowering those knees back down, bringing those knees back up, coming together, and that's 4. You guys killed our first set. You guys got the drill. You know what to do. On these next 3 sets, let's pay attention to our form, making sure that we're keeping that back nice and flat throughout this movement. Going into our second set, our hands are stacked right below our shoulders. We're going into our high plank here. We got 4 minutes. We got this. 4 sets. We have 3 more to go. Sending those feet wide and going into it at your own pace here. Bringing those legs together. I'm at 1. Making sure that we keep those hips level as we jump out, jump wide. I'm at 2. That's 3. And that's 4. Go ahead, sink back into your child's pose. Take a little rest between these sets. We have 2 sets down, 2 sets to go. If you guys want that added modification, maybe jumping isn't for you this morning, you can go into your high plank, simply stepping those feet out wide and bringing them back together. So you can do that. Additionally, maybe if high plank is not your mojo this morning, you can just keep those knees down, holding it in your high plank, even maybe doing some shoulder taps if you still want that challenge. So just make this workout whatever you need it to be this morning. We have 2 more sets left. We got this. So going back into our high plank, bringing those knees up off the ground. We're starting going at your own pace as you need. Taking that baby rest between. I'm at 1. That's 2. Halfway there. That's 3. Our last one. And sinking back into that child's pose. We have 1 set left. We're killing the core section here together. This one last set, and then we have 1 more exercise in our core section, and then we're already halfway done with the class. You guys are killing it this morning. Let's push back up into our last set. I'm going wide, lowering down, coming back together. I'm at 1, keeping our back flat, our core engaged, our gaze towards the mat. I'm halfway done. Breathing throughout, never forgetting our breath here. We got our last one, and sinking back into our child's pose. Working that core this morning, maybe feeling a little warm. I mistakenly wore a long sleeve. Grabbing that towel, grabbing that water, whatever you need. We have 1 last core portion before we'll move into our imaginary bar section. So we're going to transition off of our knees and our hands, and we're going to change it up, laying down back on the mat on our back. So taking a little break here. It'll feel nice to stretch out. We're going to send our hands and our legs wide into a starfish. So making our body as big as we can. And then we're going to gently bring our hands and our legs up off the ground as we pull up our head and our chest. So you can feel it already engage those lower abs here. Holding it here for 4, 3, 2, 1, and lowering down. This is like a reverse Superman, if you've ever done a Superman before. Our starfishes, coming back up, contracting that core, bringing those legs up for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lowering it all back down. We have 2 more to go. Bringing it all up together for 4, 3, 2, and 1. We have 1 left, breathing throughout this motion. Taking nice deep inhales. Our last one, we got this. Bringing it all up for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lowering it all back down. Taking a nice little rest here as we lay on our mats. We're going to be transitioning into our bar portion. So feel free, take this little break, grab some water, grab a towel. I'm going to slowly make my way up to stand. Going as slow as you need. I know in the morning sometimes it can be easy to get up quick and feel a little lightheaded. So I'm going to grab a chair nearby me. Maybe it's a kitchen counter for you. Maybe it's a sibling that you have next to you. Whatever you're working with at home this morning. So if you're listening to Spotify playlist, we're jumping back to old Justin Bieber, One Less Lonely Girl, a classic. But grab that water, grab that towel, take that break. As we talked about our bar positions before, we were previously in our second position. We're going to now be going into our first position. Our legs are going to be slightly bent, a little straight, sending our toes out wide, our heels glued together. We should feel our hips tilt just a little bit forward. We feel very strong in this position. You can grab, lightly hold on to your imaginary bar this morning. Whatever you do, just don't push a lot on it. I know this chair probably can't take too much, but the purpose is just for our balance and just to have that little bit of support. So we're going to start by taking our left leg, pointing our toe, bringing that leg up towards our knee before, as you see, we're in our passe position if you're familiar with ballet. And then we're going to kick our leg out wide before we slowly, gently bring it back down to our mat. So pointing our toe throughout the entire exercise, kicking that leg out and slowly bringing it down, making sure that our weight isn't shifting. I already felt mine shifting a little bit, but that slight bend and that standing leg is very key here. Bringing our left toe up, pointing wide, feeling like a ballerina this morning. Maybe you can add a little bit of arms, whatever you're feeling. Doing this for just 4 more here before you can meet me at the top of your position. We'll be doing some kicks. 2 more together. Maybe making your arms nice and big, establishing your space. Our last one here together. As we come on back up and we put our foot in our passe, we're going to kick our leg out, holding it wide. I know it's hard here. We're pulsing that leg up, feeling it in maybe that hip flexor, that hip for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lowering that leg down, shaking it out. We're going to switch sides. I'm switching around my chair this morning, but adjust as you need. Maybe twirl around your computer. We're going to start back in our first position, our feet glued together, our hands lightly on that chair, bringing our right foot up this time, kicking it wide, and bringing it back down. Not putting too much weight in that standing left glute, making sure that we're not sinking in. We have one of my colleagues, Shayna, likes to say that we have a stress ball in like our lower abs here, and we don't want to push into it. We want to make sure that we're letting that hip come high, not having that added stress in that hip, that left hip joint here. Maybe adding those arms, mimicking those legs, feeling like a true ballerina this morning. Starting off your weekend strong, caring for your body, coming to bar, caring for your mind after all of the classes you might have had this week. Doing this for our last 4, last 3, last 2, and last 1. You guys know what to do. We're going to be bringing our right foot up, sending it wide, and pulsing here together for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lowering that leg, shaking those legs out. We killed the bar portion. We have 1 section left of our class. It's going to be our floor section. So go ahead, move your imaginary bars out of the way. For the moment, we're going to be finishing on the mat together. So starting at the tippy top of your mat this time, we're taking a deep breath in together, reaching those arms towards the sky. And as we send that chest forward, reaching down towards those toes, we feel it in our hamstrings, pedaling out those feet here. We're going to begin to walk our feet back into our plank. We're not going into a plank, don't worry. Lowering our knees down into our tabletop. So in our tabletop, our hands, adjust as you need, our hands are going to be stacked right under our shoulders. I'm going to adjust back so I can see you guys a little better. Our hands are going to be our wrists are going to be right under our shoulders. Our knees are going to be directly under our hips. You can make your knees a little bit wider just to have that firm stance. So if someone tried to push you over, maybe your brother, maybe your little kid, you would not move at all. And we're going to start by going in, working our right leg first, bending our right leg. Our foot is going to be flexed, sending our right knee high and bringing it back down to the mat. So just this simple movement, but it's very easy to push into our left hand here. We want to keep our weight neutral, feeling it already in that right glute. Making sure that core is engaged. Our gaze is down towards our mat. Doing this for our last 4, last 3, last 2. On this last one, meeting at the top, our knee is up high in the air, making sure that we're not bringing that right hip up high, keeping it level with the other one. We're going to take our right knee, cross it over towards our left knee, bringing that knee into the pit of our left knee. Kind of sounds a little weird, but we're going to keep our right knee bent the whole time and then bringing it back to where it was. So bringing it across into our left knee pit and bringing it back up high into the air. Beginning to feel different parts of our glute working here. Keeping that foot flexed the whole time. Power all from our hip into our heel. Feeling different parts of that right glute working. For our last 4, 3, last 2. On this last one, we're going to be having our knee high in the air, this time straightening it out to the side and then bringing it back high. So straightening that right leg to the side and bringing it bent high in the air, straightening it out to the side, bent high in the air. Making sure that we're not sacrificing that form. Our back is flat here together. For our last 4, last 3, last 2, last 1. Bringing that right knee down towards the floor, giving yourself a nice little break here. Maybe sinking back those hips into our child's pose. I know I'm dripping sweat this morning. Taking this nice break here, making sure that we're breathing, taking nice deep breaths in through our nose and out through our mouth. We have one last exercise, burning out our left side before we're going to switch on into our cool down. So finishing strong here together. We got this. Pushing back on up into our tabletop. Let's check our form first. Our hands, our wrists are stacked underneath our shoulders. Our knees are stacked underneath our hips. We have a nice flat back here. And we're going to be working our left side. So we want to make sure that we're not shifting into our right side. We're keeping it all neutral. Lightly lifting our left knee off the ground. I'm actually going to switch around so you guys can see just a little bit better. We're going to lightly bring our left knee up off the ground with our foot flexed, bringing that heel high into the air before we lower it back down towards the mat. Slowly bringing it up into the sky and lowering it back down, making sure that our gaze is towards our mat. Our neck is long. We have a line from our head to our hips. Doing this for our last 4, last 3, last 2, last 1, keeping our knee high in the air. We're going to cross it over, going into our right knee pit and bringing it back up high in the air. Crossing it over into our right knee pit, bringing it back in the air. Our foot is staying flexed this whole time, aiming to keep our leg in a 90-degree bend. Our gaze is towards our mat. We're breathing deep here together, finishing off this class strong. These last exercises for 4, 3, 2, and 1. This time we're sending that knee wide to the side, straightening it out, and then bending it, bringing it back high into the air. Straighten to the side, bent in the air. Feeling that side glute already. Doing this for our last 4, last 3, keeping this nice and controlled. Last 2, and last 1. Slowly bringing that left knee back down to the ground. Go ahead, push back into your child's pose. We're going to go into our cool down now. As we go into our cool down, we're pushing back into our child's pose. Maybe shifting our hips left and right, feeling it a little bit deeper in those inner thighs. We can start by taking our right arm. We're going to interlace it underneath our left arm, sending it towards the side, letting our gaze fall towards the left side of our mats. Our head is gently placed on the mat, getting that extra stretch in those arms here, letting our breathing slow. Maybe letting your eyes close a little bit here. Thanking your body for all the work it's done this morning in bar. Unraveling this right arm, we're sending it long in front of us. The switching sides, taking our left arm, interlacing it underneath our right this time, letting our gaze fall towards the right side of our mat. Letting our head rest on the mat, facing towards that right side. Unraveling this left arm, standing it straight in front of you. We're going to shift our weight back into our tabletop here together. This time we're going to let our hips push down towards the mat, going into our upward dog. Keeping our toes pointed back behind us, feeling the stretch all throughout that torso. The tops of our feet are facing down towards our mat. Our gaze is up towards the ceiling. Maybe feeling that stretch throughout that back. We're gonna flip our feet, letting our toes come onto the mat, going into our downward dog. We're pushing our hips high into the sky, sending our chest towards our quads. Pedaling out those feet, just feeling that stretch in those hamstrings, in those calves. We're gonna start by taking our right leg, extending it high into the air in our three-legged dog here together. Bringing it through in between our hands, planting it down in our deep runner's lunge here, feeling it in that hip flexor on our left side. In this deep runner's lunge, we're gonna take our right arm, extend it high into the air, letting your chest go towards that right knee. Feeling the stretch all throughout that hip flexor into that right glute. We're gonna slowly let our left knee fall down to the floor. Let our right arm plant back onto the floor as well. We're gonna walk our hands back into our hamstring stretch, letting our right toes come up off the mat. Feeling it all in this right hamstring here. Walking those hands back forward. We're gonna send our right leg back high into our three-legged dog. Bring it back down towards the mat. Switching sides, going to our left leg, bringing it high, and then bringing it through, planting that left foot down into our deep runner's lunge on our left side. Bringing that left arm up, finishing off with this last stretch of the class. Letting that left hand plant back down, that right knee go down to the floor, walking those hands back into our hamstring stretch on our left side. Our last exercise of the class together. Slowly walking those hands back towards the top of your mat, framing that foot. We're gonna lift our right knee up off the ground, send our left leg back in our three-legged dog, and gently place it back down in our downward dog here. We're gonna slowly walk our feet forward, going into our forward fold, our last stretch of the class here together. Taking a deep breath in, we're slowly making our way up to stand, reaching those arms up high on this inhale. As we exhale, sending those arms down towards your side. Thank you guys so much for joining me for Barre this morning. It was so wonderful to get to be with you all on the last day of classes. I'm going to stop the recording now.